Greetings, my name is Max Ciccone, and welcome to my Capstone presentation. Trends over a decade of film, 2006 and 2016, a retrospective. This is brought to you by Savvy Coders, the Data Analytics and Python cohort of January 2023. Here's my GitHub and email. I'm based in Southern California, San Diego to be exact. A little about me. I grew up in Orlando, Florida. In 2011, I joined the U.S. Navy to travel the world as much as I possibly could. I became a hospital corpsman in which I worked at various clinics, hospitals, and was attached to a Marine Corps unit as a medic. After honorably serving and getting out of the military, I started working at a title escrow company while simultaneously going to school full-time to complete my degree. There, I worked in the accounting department as a payoff clerk. And it's at this time my analytical skills began to sharpen and I developed a liking for working with numbers. I processed countless money wires at this job and developed keen attention to detail. After completing my undergraduate in management, I wanted to change careers and move into IT work. And at this time, I became fascinated with the field of data science and analytics. Since the start of my education at Savvy Coders, I've been consistently learning and improving my competency with Python, and I'm eager to continue to educate myself going forward and learn more tools and skill sets to utilize professionally. Some tools that I use for my capstone. Predominantly, I used Python via VS Code and Jupyter Notebook. For all these visual representations and this presentation, I use Tableau. I also use Excel. My data set was a CSV file, and I manipulated a lot of the data via Excel before I started playing with it in Python. I want to continue to gain new skill sets and tools as I progress professionally, but I'd like to specialize in these three as I find them to be the most useful as a combination. My capstone project focuses on a data set pertaining to 10 years of film, 2006 to 2016. So my goal was to clean and analyze from my data set to make reliable predictions on future box office successes based on possible trends. Additionally, I was searching for any correlations in the data linked to the success of the films and other factors, including such as genre, run times, etc. This depiction here I had made through Tableau. I put the genres and the revenues together through my CSV, through the data set. And one thing you'll notice initially for the genres, there's multiple genres for each block. Each film has multiple genres pretty much. That was difficult for me at first because I was expecting many actions, many horror titles, many comedy titles. Come to find out, a lot of films nowadays have multiple genres included. So with that being said, my top 10 genres, I'll read a list for you. They're highlighted, the top 10 genres in this data set. Action, adventure, fantasy, action, adventure, sci-fi, action, adventure, thriller, action, crime, drama, action, crime, thriller, adventure, drama, fantasy. There's a lot of adventures and actions, as you can see. In fact, 60% of the top 10 contain action in its genre, and 70% contain adventure as part of the genre. You can scroll down here and look at the list. It's everything highlighted is the ones that are the top 10 most revenue earning. If you'll look here, this is my imports that I used via Python to kind of make some of these Seaborn and Matplotlib graph depictions that I have here. It's probably my proudest work is my graphs and the visuals I made via Python. In the red syntax, you can see the syntax I used to make some of these graphs, yeah? And some takeaways from this little depiction. So what this graph is telling us is these are the years of movies from the era of the data set. This is the count of movies that have been made. From 06 to 2012, there are significantly less movies made. You can see that there's a rise of movies being made as time goes on, yeah? 2010 and 2011 had the same exact amount of films produced. See that little plateau there? 2010 to 2011, same amount of films. And yeah, production in movies has increased over the years. We can only assume that more movies equals more revenue. This next depiction I have here Here are my imports as well. I went heavy on Matplotlib and Seaborn. This is a correlation plot, a heat map. So for this one, I tried to find any correlations in my data set, which proved to be kind of difficult. But I did potentially find some strong relationships. So if we look here, the negative data sets here are kind of irrelevant for me. But the positive ones, especially the higher numbers, like rating Metascore, votes revenue, these two darker ones, yeah, that's about 2/3%. And they're going to be showing some kind of relationship, not exactly a correlation, but we can't tell anything from this negative value right here for year and rank. We cannot tell anyway that they're related, right? It's negative. There's no way we're going to be able to see if year is related to ranking in any way. But for example, for votes and revenue, we could see that there might be some kind of relationship in the sense of revenue. It's earning a bunch of money for the film. Therefore, there might be a lot of people voting for the film. If a lot of people saw it, then a lot of people might vote. But not everybody that watches a film is going to vote for it. So we can't say there's a correlation, but we can say that there might be a strong chance that if it has a high revenue, there might be a lot of good votes. It's probably a popular film, yeah. So that's kind of what I got out of this graph. For the next one, moving on, here are some of my imports as well at the top. Another heavy on the Matplotlib and Seaborn. So first thing that we can tell from what this data is telling us through the story is rank is not going to really help us. We cannot really tell much about this. It's very difficult to read. Not exactly the best column for a histogram for this one. But let's move on to years, and this one's pretty good. We have a similar graph earlier in the presentation showing the same results. The movies made and the years. As the years go by, more movies are made. This is demonstrated in this depiction right here perfectly. Moving on, runtime. Most movies have a runtime between 100 and 150 minutes. Well, look here. That's a sweet spot. Most movies are made within that time. I did a little research on Excel for my data set. I found the average for the column of runtimes, and it was 114.6 minutes. So, yeah, I mean, that fits right into this storyline right here. The perfect example. Rating. Average rating for movies is between 5.0 to 7.5. It's difficult to get a rating above that threshold, but most movies are not going to fall below the 5.0 either. So a lot of average ratings that you can see here, close to high. That's a good depiction. Votes. Most movies contain 0 to 1 votes. Just because you watch the film doesn't mean it's going to get a vote. Not everybody that watches votes. That's what you can take from that. Revenue. Most movies make between 0 to 500 mil. Few movies exceed that. Metascore. Only about 75 movies have a rating between 75 to 100%. Most movies range between 25 to 75. And this is from a data set of about 1,000 rows. So that tells you something right there. What genre of movie has the highest runtimes on average? Average runtime for movies in this data set was 114.6 minutes. So whichever genre has the highest count among the group of movies over 114.6 minutes would answer which genre of movies has the highest runtime on average. This is the syntax I used to answer that question. So I used highest runtime equals if they have runtime greater than the average, as well as genre to figure this out. This is the output that I had here. My output shows that action, adventure, sci-fi has a count of 38 movies within the list, making it the highest genre of runtime on average. And if we scroll back, that also supports, let's look here, action and adventure. Yeah, action and adventure. There you go. Do you see that link right there? Some difficulties and roadblocks that I had during my capstone and this course in general. For me, Tableau was difficult to figure out how to use image formatting properly, especially with background pictures. It's not the easiest to master. So I had a little difficulty with that. And additionally, just figuring out the differences between worksheets and dashboards and story points took me a while before I understood how to use them proficiently. The next thing that kind of gave me some difficulty at first was I was hesitant to run certain Python code because I didn't want to receive an output error and I would wait for instructors or other students to help me get out of the error. But along the course, I learned to look up things on myself and do self-research to figure out. There's a lot of information out there to help you fix uh, problems that you're having across in your code blocks. So that's what I had learned during this course, an invaluable lesson. And lastly, I just wanted to give a shout out to Savvy Coders. Thank you guys so much, all the instructors who've helped me along the way. I'd like to give a special shout out to Sir John, Mr. James, as well as Miss Danielle. You guys really helped me a lot and answered a lot of my questions for me, and I couldn't have done it without you. So I appreciate you for that. And another thing about this course and the capstone that I really found to help was just using agile methodology. I fully intend to use Jira after this course and for future projects. I think it's a great agile tool to just, have everything in front of you, what you need to get done, when you need to get it accomplished. And it's a great process, I would say. That's really all I got besides showing you, lastly, my VS Code. I kind of wanted to just run through. The first thing I had in my VS Code was a markdown with like a plan of who this project would be for, what it's about. And my initial plan for who it was for is I was thinking that this would be a good capstone for helping out studios or movie producers, maybe to give them advice on what movies are going to make the best revenue going forward based on the results and findings that I had found. I have my imports in here, very many simple functions that I first used to play with the data. And the thing I'm most proud about in this course is probably my matplotlibs and my Seaborn, all the images and the graph visual representations I was able to create. It was a lot, and I learned so much during this course. So yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this capstone presentation. And I appreciate everything. And feel free to contact me if you want to look at the beginning of my capstone to my GitHub and my email, the title page. It's all located there. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.